Yo fam, it's your boy, Nux. You know, the guy that gets canceled on Twitter every second Monday. And the guy that unfortunately has to get his hands dirty and say the shiz that no one else says. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't know about it. And the people that do know about it are usually too nice and wholesome to do something about it. But let me tell you something about wholesome people. I'm wholesome to them, and I will take up their sword and fight their battles if need be. And if I get some extra flexi points and some great memes to sprout from it, which in this case, let's be honest, they might. So whenever I tackle a toxic fandom, I'm always met by people that are like, yo, thanks for doing this. And I'm also met by people that are like, yo, go jump off the nearest cliff. It's this lovely dichotomy of people that just make me feel so loved and appreciated. Thank you all so much in advance for all the hate that I will be getting. But today, I want to introduce you to the toxic ass crack of the Vtuber community. Now, I made a video talking about overall toxicity in the Vtuber fandom when Pokimane announced that she would become a Vtuber, and Vtubers started exploding in the West, so I talked about it on a much broader scale. There were things that I wanted to include in that video that I did not end up including because I was asked by certain Vtubers not to. Now, those Vtubers were wholesome, so I in turn was wholesome to them. My philosophy of being wholesome to wholesome people and toxic to toxic people stands to this day though, and finally, those wholesome people are okay with me spreading the ass cheeks of the Vtuber community a little bit so I could shove this video so far up that chocolate starfish it'll come out of your mouth. I mean, at least that's how anatomy was explained to me via the many hentai that I didn't watch, being that I've never ever watched a hentai before in my entire life ever. But I'm gonna go with that. For those of you that are unfamiliar, a good friend of mine, Projekt Melody, was recently banned on Twitch. When this happened, of course, my mentions on Twitter were flooded because that's where people contact me. I don't understand. Whenever anything happens anywhere in a community that I'm somewhat involved in, my Twitter mentions get attacked. Like I actually have the power to do anything about anything, right? Like, who am I? I'm a weeb, okay? I don't do shiz for a living. I do nothing for a living, goddammit. Genie, Patastic P, MXR Plays was sleeping on stream. Everyone flooded my Twitter mentions to get me to tell her boyfriend Henry to wake her because she's sleeping. They didn't even attack Henry's DM. They just came straight to me. So I mentioned Henry, and Henry went to her and woke her up, and everything was nice. But so I guess it worked. I guess it worked. Follow me on Twitter, goddammit. But anywho, Projekt Melody was lately banned on Twitch, and for around a day, she went completely silent, not saying a word, but it was clear that she was banned. Her channel was gone, her videos were all gone, and she was removed from the partnership program according to Twitch's own bot system. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. A lot of people flooded my DMs, and when asking Melody, she said I shouldn't really say anything publicly until she made a post the next day. So I did just that. I waited, and then she posted the reasoning. Now, none of this was really news to me, unfortunately. Someone that dabbles in many areas and has made many friends and sometimes even more enemies than friends, I am very familiar with the situation at hand, and I was asked politely to not talk about it until now. To quickly summarize what's been going on with Projekt Melody before I talk about the greater toxic ass crack of the VTuber community, it was a DMCA takedown. People all over the internet were pondering over what it could possibly be. Perhaps she was too lewd on the site. And while Twitch has been known to ban people for lesser reasons than this, that was not the case. Digi, the individual that she hired to make her actual VTuber model, copyright claimed her entire channel and said that he made the model, he owns the IP, and therefore this entire channel belongs to him and should be removed forthwith from the platform, and it was. This is not entirely his fault to blame, although it is mostly his fault. It partially lies on Twitch, okay? Twitch heeds every DMCA notice to a fault. I annoyed another streamer on Twitch by, being toxic to toxic people. That thing that I like to do that doesn't at all get me in issues. Yeah, that. And I got a copyright strike on my Twitch channel. The VOD was taken down. I got a warning and I wasn't going to be able to stream for like 7 days. And I contacted that streamer personally and said, yo, listen, remove this VOD or I will send the Billies to crusade against you. And no one wants that because, as we know, having taken on several companies in the past, you don't want to mess with my fan base. As toxic as any fan base is, my boys are the most toxic of them all, and they're toxic to the toxic people that we know and love. God damn it, I love you guys so much. Please subscribe if you're new. Join the freaking cult. We're a hammer of justice. What can I say? So anyway, she removed the DMCA takedown and my channel was freed. Huzzah! Follow me on Twitch if you haven't yet. So despite the Twitch platform in itself being extremely faulty, they heeded Digi's claims and took down Melody's channel. At this point, thankfully, it has returned, completely intact. So crisis averted. Everything's great, except not everything's great. For like the first day that Melody's channel was taken down because of Digi claiming it, Melody was distraught. It was a day of extreme stress. She put up a strong front and was saying that she would be able to get her channel back, despite knowing that, truthfully, her chances of getting it back were 50-50 dealing with something as volatile as Twitch. The amount of stress put on her over that day is insane. It's something she's been working on for months and months, and it was taken away in a heartbeat from someone who's been harassing her for 6 months. So this is the tale of Digi really quickly before getting into the broader toxic community. And this is a story that I wanted to make public when I heard about it months ago. Melody and others in the community that were also affected by this individual are kind souls, and they do not want to cause any sort of strife or drama in the community, and therefore I remain silent. But now that the word is out, goddammit, and I don't need to dance around the freaking bush being as polite as Melody is. Gloves are taken off, boys. Let's do this. The major toxicity I find in the VTuber communities is that VTubers in general are viewed as commodities as opposed to people by so many. This, I believe, is the underlying issue with every toxic trash mound that decides to start moving around in the VTuber space. VTubers started in the East. You had big companies like HoloLive that owned their VTubers, and they do. Anyone that wants to become a VTuber working with this massive HoloLive industry ended up auditioning for the role, and if they got it, they signed that they would be property of HoloLive, following their rules, giving a cut to the industry, and in turn, they would get insane promotion and all this money shoved at them, making sure that their avatar and rig actually worked out well. That was the deal going into it. So being that that is the case, it's understandable that they're in part owned by the companies. Recently, a HoloLive VTuber, Kiryu Coco, mentioned that she wanted to collab with Melody. Melody is a very large Western VTuber and an independent one at that, and I will get back to that term later. However, being that the higher-ups in the HoloLive industry realized that Melody is far more lewd than the idols from Japan, they immediately shot this idea down and forbid the collaboration from taking place. The concept of idols does not exist in the West like it does in Japan or in Korea. Idols are these beloved individuals that are in essence owned by different companies. So being that that's how VTubers sort of started, it's understandable to some degree that there would be this terrible misunderstanding about what they can actually be if they went independently. VTubers in the West, by and large, are independent. Melody hired this Digi individual to make her a VTuber avatar, just like I would hire an artist to make a thumbnail of mine or to make my avatar. Now, I hired that person for a job. Whatever I paid for is now mine. It's not like they now own a certain percentage of my future because they drew a picture of me and I paid for it. That's the facts. If you go by the facts, Melody is 100% in the right. Yet this Digi individual did not expect Melody to blow up nearly as big as she did. She took the internet by storm. There were these controversies around her, and she is so wholesome, it only made her stronger. She was raking it in and making it big, and Digi, for months on end. And I have a million receipts, if you really want to tussle with me, that I'm not going to share yet, but if I wanted to, I could, of straight up harassment for months. I own you. I made you. All your success is because of me, which is completely untrue. And if Melody would have known that this asshole was an asshole, she would have just hired someone else to make her VTuber avatar. Pretty straightforward stuff, if I do say so myself. Now, this man is straight up extorting her, trying to get her to pay him $40,000 a month, and it's not founded in any facts. It's completely delusional, and it's straight up harassment and extortion. So this dude goes along, and because Twitch's policies are absolute ass, straight up copyrights her entire channel and gives her probably one of the worst days of her life. Great. He's done more. When he saw how successful Melody was, he created a new business venture. A business venture by the name of Waifu. YFU, pronounced waifu. And every other commentator that freaking talked about this couldn't pronounce it as waifu, which is hilarious. Now, when he saw how successful Melody was and he launched this waifu campaign, he hired someone to play the role as waifu. This was not an independent VTuber. This was was someone he hired. So when he kept telling Melody, you owe me everything. You have to collab with waifu all the time and get her as big as you can. Honestly, no, quite frankly, she does not. Yo everyone, Nux from the future here. So after completing the video and having it fully edited and everything, I've managed to further research and stumble upon the DigiTrevX situation. And while there are a lot of private messages I don't feel like I need to share yet, unless this escalates further, there are a few public things that are straight up illegal, so I don't really feel bad to share this. I mean, technically, since it's public, he shared it himself. First things first, he's been known to do this in a ton of communities. He's done this with commissions on 4chan and commissions in the Vocaloid industry. He made a model Ruka, and when Ruka quit, he said, how dare she quit, even though he's just a commissioned hire, and saying, even though I was hired to make the model, and I made it and was paid for it, it's not like they could just do whatever they want then. Actually, yes, that's exactly what it means. I have a million assholey Discord messages that I have no patience to share with you now, but I will keep it as backup in case I ever need to. Here's a tweet of him literally threatening to dox Melody. That's actually a felony, so it's kind of cute that he's so up in arms ready to do that. After insulting Melody, Silvervale, and Iron Mouse in Discord for a long time, one of Melody's fans actually attacked him, and he got into an entire argument about how Melody should be promoting Waifu, his other project, and Melody owes him and stuff. But nothing quite as scary as the tweet, and I quote, usually, people are not this reckless when you were friends and know everything about their stuff and them. In other words, I know her personal info, and she shouldn't be reckless because I could always dox her. That's a doxing threat. And in fact, the replies on that tweet straight up say that, yeah, that's a doxing threat. Again, I could gather billions of these, but I don't think it is interesting to see me just hammer down on an asshole again and again and again. But as far as other illegal things that he's done, to brush up real quick, after he made demands for Melody to give him $40,000 a month plus a percentage of merch sales, which is insane, he then secretly filed a US copyright for ownership of Project Melody. What? Yes, you heard correctly. This man attempted to copyright a person. Oh no, not a person, just the model that he made that he was commissioned to make. It's like my artist trying to now copyright Nux Taku because he drew the avatar that I paid him to draw. And apparently he's done this before. He's commissioned, he's paid, and then he extorts people, and it's messed up. And if you really want to know that I'm not even kidding a little, I have all the DMs with all the dates, with him asking Melody for this deal, and then a date later of him actually filing the copyright. This right here is DigiTrevX filing a copyright for Project Melody, and it's public info because it's in the official US copyright website. Now, I'm not gonna fight fire with fire to the point of doxing it, but you see those little censored parts over here on this copyright form? Yeah. That's DigiTrevX's real name and real address. Now, I'm not one to ever threaten to dox people because that would be horrible. But if Melody were to ever get doxed by Digi, well, I mean, I may not be in my right mind, you see. And no offense, but my fan base is a lot less forgiving than hers. Anywho, this was the little addendum to the video I wanted to make. I felt like it was really worth, you know, hammering down the nail on the head as to the level of asshole this dude is. And I have more. This video is not intended to be a personal video against DigiTrevX. This is mostly a video covering the toxic underbelly of the VTube community. He just happens to be part of it, and he's an example that's quite relevant to the topic at hand, and therefore, I really wanted to hone down on this point. Anyway, let's get back to Past Nux. I'm sure he has something great to say. Subscribe to Past Nux also. Past Nux, I stand Past Nux. What a legend that man is. Toodles. And then Digi-san would go ahead and roast the people that Melody actually collabed with. I'm lucky enough that he didn't come after me earlier, or well, rather I should say he's lucky enough he didn't come after me personally. But he came after Mousy, and that is unforgivable. Iron Mouse is a VTuber that I've grown extremely friendly with. I talk to her almost every single day. She is one of the nicest people out there, and her streams are hella enjoyable. Back when she was but a wee mouse, I was saying that she very well may likely become the biggest VTuber of all time at some point. Her streams are fire. This individual goes ahead and says, the only reason why Mousy is popular is because Melody brought her up. She is in fact horrible, etc., etc. etc., etc., etc. With the word horrible not nearly being as colorful as the actual words he decided to use. He said many other horrible things, and other people have said many horrible things, and I will rather avoid saying these horrible things unless the time comes where I must take up that sword and fight that battle. And it very well might, and I'm happy to fight. But in order to limit the chaos of everything that's going on, I'm going to be frank and say it's not only Digi. He was the one that led this tirade against Melody, which is why he is the example that I'm using, but there are many, many other people that forget that VTubers are people. In fact, something that really scared me about this whole Project Melody getting banned drama is that all the news articles and news outlets that started talking about it, because obviously they're gonna talk about it, Project Melody banned. They don't refer to Melody as she. None of them. They don't even decide to go super progressive and refer to her as they. They refer to Melody as it. She's treated like an object not only by people, but by news outlets. They call her an AI, they call her an it, and it's disgusting that this is the prevailing mentality that so many people seem to have. I never liked the idea of ranking YouTubers against each other, because at the end of the day, YouTubers are people. I understand you don't like someone's content, don't watch the content, but saying that, oh, this YouTuber is better than that YouTuber, you suck because that YouTuber is better, that's kind of disgusting, and quite frankly, I don't see a lot of people do it. You see people ranking anime characters and waifus, but for the most part, people try not to rank people, because at the end of the day, people can have their feelings hurt, and people don't want to necessarily do that unless they're cruel, toxic assholes. I don't know anyone like that, but if I did know someone like that, they would rank people. VTubers get rankings. Oh, you're not my favorite VTuber. That person's my favorite VTuber. You're just a bad VTuber. Bargain basement that VTuber. VTubers aren't treated as people by way too many that are out there that actually view the community from the outside. Now, many of these are fans. Many of them are companies that actually own VTubers. And many of these are employers or employees. People like Digi that are more than happy to use and abuse any form of leverage or power that they hold over these non-human entities. I got information from one of my many spies. What the hell's wrong with me? A few months ago, and I'm not going to say who told this to me because that person will end up getting hate for revealing this secret, and I will not necessarily throw that individual, my conformant, under the bus. But that person told me of several YouTubers that were trying to expose the identities of VTubers. Yes, despite their lives being completely private and none of anyone's business, they are just, you know, entertaining and creating content for the masses to enjoy. People were like, hey, why don't we actually find out more about them? Why don't we actually expose them? You know, dox them. They're not people. I don't know if it spouts from jealousy, clout chasing, or just not regarding or having respect for another man or woman. No respect for gender equality whatsoever. But I was tipped off on this actually going on, and I did my best to put an end to it to the best of my ability. And well, I'm not saying it worked or it didn't work, but let's just say no one ended up getting exposed or doxxed. So, well, perhaps these actions did somewhat make a difference. There's so much crap that goes on behind the scenes that I don't like talking about. But once it starts getting publicized, more people are going to think that they can get away with doing horrible things that they should know that they will not get away with doing. I pride myself on a mentality that I have laughing at toxicity. When there's toxic shiz going on, there's only two things we can do. We can either laugh or cry. And laughing is just more fun than crying. So I always decide laughing at toxicity. The freaking way to go, lads. I didn't do as much laughing in this toxic crusade as I usually do. And that's because there is another way to deal with toxicity. If it's a toxicity that exists that you can actually put an end to, perhaps by shedding light on it and bringing examples of how it should definitely never be done, well then, I suppose there is something else we could do about toxicity. If there's this big toxic movement that you can't do anything about, I highly suggest laughing about it as opposed to crying about it. Laughing at toxicity, best mentality ever. Straight up changed my goddamn life. It's so fun because it annoys everyone that's toxic. It's like legit the best thing ever. But if there is a toxicity out there that perhaps you can make a difference, perhaps there can be an impact to the words that you say or the threats that you make, well then, I think a completely different approach is completely entitled and worth taking. I've said a lot to open up your eyes to take a peek at the toxic underbelly of the VTuber community, but I know a lot more. And this is not an empty threat because I'm gonna get views off it, so literally that's a huge incentive to make video. Let's just say that Don't mess with wholesome people. My philosophy of being toxic to toxic people and wholesome to wholesome people is freaking golden, and I wish that the world can freaking take that up. God damn it. And since I'm toxic to toxic people, technically that sort of makes me toxic. So if you want to be toxic to me, I welcome it. Come forth with your torches and spears, god damn it. I'll take any you on. But don't be toxic to wholesome people, please. It's below the belt. Wholesome people don't deserve to get this shit, and Melody is a wholesome person, and Iron Mouse is a wholesome person, and Gorgura is a wholesome person. At least, as far as I know. I don't know her personally, but she seems nice. And I mention her because a lot of people have been trying to expose her identity as well. Before she became a VTuber, Gorgura, she was a different individual and personality on YouTube that she had to forsake when joining the Hololive agency. I don't want to talk about this further unless I need to. So with that said and done, I suppose that ends this video. VTubers are people. They're people with avatars, okay? You don't refer to them as it. You don't get to own them. They're an employee at best, and you don't get to extort them because you're a greedy bastard. I hope this video helps, and I hope that you can share it around, perhaps get people to understand just a little bit better on what the toxic underbelly of the VTuber community is, and why it is a mentality that must be fought. Thank you all so much. Please leave a like on this video so the YouTube algorithm doesn't entirely cuck it. Subscribe if you're new and interested in future updates, or when I tussle with other toxic bastards out there that need some tussling and roughing up. It's the dirty work. It's the shiz that no one wants to do nor say. But the good news is I get so much hate anyway. What's a little extra hate? To fan the flames. Thank you all so much for standing with me and being freaking awesome. Have yourselves the most wonderful evening. Follow me on Twitter because that's where a lot of the beef goes down. And remember to stay weird, fam.